Michael Jordan was late to a game because he stopped to save someone on the highway. The game was set for 7:30 p.m. Tickets sold out days ago. It wasn't a playoff night, but whenever Michael Jordan was on the court, the energy shifted. Chicago's blood ran red and black. Everyone in the locker room moved with routine confidence, jerseys on, sneakers laced, coaches prepping rotations. But something was wrong. Jordan hadn't shown up. Phil Jackson paced once, twice, trying not to let his worries show. Scottie Pippen glanced at the clock. 7:10, the pregame tunnel was empty. No sign of number 23. He ever late before? Rookie Jamal asked in a low voice. Not without a reason, Pippen replied, his tone sharp. The press didn't wait long to swarm. Rumors started before tip-off. Some said traffic. Others whispered personal issues. Jordan had been unusually quiet the past week, sure, but no one expected this. Phones were dialed. Assistants scrambled. No answers. Meanwhile, 15 miles out on I-55, headlights flickered against the darkening sky. A mangled SUV sat crumpled against the median, steam hissing from its engine. Glass glittered across the shoulder. A woman groaned, barely conscious, trapped behind the crushed driver's side door. Her phone lay shattered in the back seat. A black Corvette slowed, then pulled over without hesitation. Door opened. Michael Jordan stepped out in Bulls sweats and Jordans, no entourage, no cameras. Just instinct. He jogged to the wreck, crouched by the window, voice steady. You with me? Can you hear me? The woman blinked, dazed, blood dripping from her forehead. She nodded faintly. Hang tight. I'm not leaving you. He tried the door. Jammed. He circled to the passenger side, climbed in, and pulled his jacket off. Applied pressure to her side where she was bleeding through her blouse. She cried out but didn't scream. He kept talking. You're all right. Help's coming. He pulled out his phone. Dead. Of all days. He got out, flagging cars. One whizzed past. Then another. Horns, stares. No one stopped. Until a semi-truck eased onto the shoulder. The driver jumped out. Holy MJ? Jordan ignored the recognition. Call 911. She's fading. The driver nodded and pulled out his cell. Back in the car, Jordan leaned in again, hand steady on her wound. You got family? He asked. My son, she whispered. He's at home. You'll see him again. Time passed in slow motion. Sirens were still faint, somewhere in the distance. Her breath shortened. Jordan looked her in the eyes, steady as ever. You're not dying here. Not tonight. Back in the arena, the Bulls had started without him. The crowd buzzed with confusion. Commentators danced around the topic. Some speculated ankle trouble. Others muttered about ego. In the locker room, the tension thickened. Jackson refused to comment. The GM looked furious. Scottie knew better. He wouldn't just no-show, he said again. There's a reason. On the highway, fire trucks finally arrived. EMTs ran forward. Jordan helped them pry open the crushed door. They took over immediately, stabilizing her neck, setting IVs, talking in short commands. One EMT turned to him. We've got her from here. Jordan hesitated, watching as they loaded her into the ambulance. Which hospital? Mercy. He nodded. Tell her she's going to be all right. The EMT paused. You want a ride? He looked down at his clothes. Nah. I've got a game. The truck driver offered him a bottle of water. Jordan accepted it with a nod, wiped his hands, got back into the Corvette, and drove. He didn't speed. Just focused. The weight of the moment stayed with him, heavy and quiet. At the United Center, he arrived at 8:12 p.m. The Bulls were down by 14. Halftime had ended. Security rushed him through the back. He changed in 2 minutes flat. No explanation, no talk. Just laced his shoes and stepped into the tunnel. The crowd erupted when he entered. Some boos, some cheers. Mostly confusion. Commentators stumbled over their words. He didn't warm up. He just checked in. Jackson didn't ask. Just nodded. Third quarter. Jordan's first touch. A pull-up jumper. Swish. The Bulls clawed back. He dropped 18 in the second half. But they still lost by 6. No miracle ending tonight. After the game, the locker room buzzed with more questions than answers. Reporters pounced. Where were you? Why so late? Traffic? Jordan barely looked up. It's handled. That's all he said. Back on the highway, the truck driver posted a grainy video. Didn't believe what I saw until I watched it back, the caption read. It showed Jordan helping the woman, arms soaked in blood, guiding EMTs. It spread slow at first. Then viral. First local news, then ESPN. By morning, the headlines had changed. Michael Jordan stopped to save a woman's life before last night's game. People didn't believe it at first. The GOAT pulling over on a cold highway? No cameras? No PR stunt? But the footage didn't lie. The woman's name was Angela Ruiz. Nurse. Single mother. On her way home from Mercy Hospital after an overnight shift. She had no idea who had saved her. Just remembered a calm voice, steady hands, and a promise she believed. He said I'd see my son again, she said, eyes wet on camera. And I did. Michael sat alone at his locker after the game. Jersey soaked in sweat, head down, towel draped over his shoulders. The rest of the team had cleared out. Phil had said nothing, just a hand on the shoulder before walking past. Some guys were still whispering. Some didn't care. Others looked at him like they were unsure of what to say. The media buzz had shifted from criticism to chaos. Everyone wanted to know the truth now. Rumors were being replaced by headlines. Talk shows ran the video on loop. 1 minute, Jordan was public enemy number 1 for being late. The next, he was a hero. But Jordan hadn't said a word. Not to defend himself. Not to explain. Not to gain applause. The next morning, the Bulls organization held a press conference. It wasn't planned. The PR team scrambled once the footage blew up. Reporters packed into the media room like it was playoff season. But Jordan didn't show up. Instead, the Bulls GM read a short statement. Michael Jordan is a professional, on and off the court. He made a decision to help someone in need. We support that. No questions allowed. Outside the arena, fans were already changing their tune. People held up homemade signs, GOAT on the court and the street and 23 saves lives. But there were still critics. One former player on a sports panel sneered on air, he should have called for help and kept driving. He has responsibilities. Another anchor argued back, he was responsible for a human life. Back in the hospital, Angela Ruiz was recovering slowly. Her son, 10-year-old Mateo, sat beside her, holding her hand. He hadn't left her side since the night of the crash. A nurse walked in holding a small envelope. This came for you, she said, placing it on the table. Angela opened it. No name. Just a note. You fought. I just helped. M. Tears welled in her eyes. She had her suspicions, but the handwriting told her everything. That night, Jordan returned to practice. No cameras. No interviews. Just sweat and repetition. Scotty jogged beside him during warm-ups. Whole world's talking. I'm not. You don't have to. They didn't speak again for the rest of practice, but something in Scotty's nod said more than words. The Bulls had a home game the next night. The United Center was louder than usual. Fans on their feet during warm-ups. Signs everywhere. Reporters lined the tunnel. Jordan came out last, as usual. When he stepped onto the court, the crowd erupted. Not just cheers, something different. Respect. Awe. People stood, not for the legend, but for the man. He dropped 35 that night. Vintage performance. Steals, fadeaways, free throws. The Bulls won by 10. But that wasn't the headline the next day. Jordan silent. World loud. Angela watched the game from her hospital room. Mateo clapped every time Jordan scored. He mimicked his fadeaway, jumping up in his sneakers and nearly knocking over the four-stand. Angela smiled through her pain. "He's good," Mateo whispered. "He's more than that," Angela said softly. The next morning, Angela received a visitor. A Bulls representative, clean-cut, polite. He brought flowers and tickets for her and Mateo. Courtside. Next home game. She looked stunned. "Is this from him?" The rep nodded. "He doesn't do this often." 2 nights later, Angela and Mateo arrived at the United Center. VIP entrance. Warm welcome. Seats right behind the bench. The crowd recognized her instantly. Some applauded. Some just stared. Jordan noticed her as soon as he stepped out for pregame warm-ups. Their eyes met. No words. Just a look. When the game ended, Angela and Mateo were led to a back hallway. A quiet space outside the locker room. Jordan stepped out, now in his suit. "Hey," he said, almost shyly. Angela reached out her hand. He took it. "You saved my life," she said. "No. You held on. I just made sure someone noticed." Mateo stepped forward, nervous. Jordan crouched to his level. "You play?" he asked. "I try." "You keep trying. That's how you get good." Mateo grinned. "You think I could be like you?" Jordan smiled. "Better. You've already got heart." They talked a few more minutes, nothing dramatic. No tears. Just real people in a quiet moment. Later, after they left, Jordan stood alone again by his locker. Scottie approached. "You gonna say anything about all this?" Jordan shook his head. "Not why I did it." The next day, ESPN dropped a documentary-style segment. Quick. Honest. Interview with the truck driver. Footage from the highway. Statement from the hospital. Public opinion shifted hard. Even the critics started backpedaling. "He let his actions speak," one commentator said. "That's how legends are made." Angela's story hit the local paper. She had been working doubles to make ends meet. Lost her husband 3 years prior. No family nearby. Just her and Mateo. Jordan made no official comment, but an anonymous donation paid off her hospital bills. A week later, her mortgage balance mysteriously dropped to 0. Someone leaked that detail. The world pieced it together quickly. Jordan still didn't say a word. Angela returned to work 3 weeks later. First day back, her coworkers surprised her with a welcome banner and Bulls gear. Mateo started basketball tryouts the next month. Made the team. One afternoon after practice, he pulled out a shoebox. Inside were clean, new Air Jordans. A handwritten note tucked into the side read, "Play with heart. And never drive past someone who needs you." The season rolled on. Jordan was as sharp as ever, focused, relentless. Reporters still asked about the highway night, but he kept his answers short. It happened. Let's move on. He didn't need the spotlight. The footage had done all the talking. He knew who he was, and so did everyone else now. Back at Mercy Hospital, Angela was back in scrubs, quietly returning to her life. No book deals. No press. She declined the morning shows. What mattered was being there for her son. Mateo brought his sneakers to school every day, even when it wasn't practice. The shoes meant something now. Not just because they had Jordan's name on them, but because of the message inside. Play with heart. Never drive past someone who needs you. 2 months after the incident, the Bulls hosted a special night, fan appreciation, nothing unusual. But partway through halftime, the announcer paused. "We'd like to recognize someone in the crowd tonight. A person whose courage, strength, and heart reminds us that real heroes aren't always the ones with the ball." The spotlight swung across the arena. Angela Ruiz and Mateo stood up, stunned. The crowd rose to their feet. Angela waved shyly. Mateo looked like he might explode with pride. Jordan didn't look back. He just stood at center court, hands on hips, eyes forward. Let the moment belong to them. That night, the Bulls won by 20. Jordan dropped 42. Vintage stuff. As reporters hounded him post-game, one question slipped through. "Did you plan the tribute tonight?" He gave the faintest smile. "Nope. But I'm glad she got her moment." Days later, Angela received a plain envelope in her mailbox. No return address. Inside was a check, not for millions, but enough to change her life. Enough for Mateo's future. Enough to breathe. No signature. Just 2 words on the memo line, "For Mateo." Angela didn't cry right away. She just sat at the kitchen table, hand over her mouth, nodding slowly. Then she called her mother in New Mexico and told her she was finally coming to visit, after all these years. Life didn't get perfect. But it got manageable. Better. Hopeful. Weeks passed. Then months. Then the playoffs. Jordan was dominant. Like old times. No distractions. No nonsense. But the night before Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, he got a call. Not from a coach. Not from an agent. From the hospital. Angela was back. Not for herself. Mateo had collapsed at school. Doctors weren't sure what it was yet. They were running tests. Jordan didn't hesitate. He told the team he needed to leave for the night. No one questioned it. He arrived at Mercy in a hoodie and jeans. Quiet. Unnoticed. Angela was sitting outside the pediatric ICU. Her eyes were tired but dry. She was holding Mateo's lucky shoes. "He's scared," she whispered. "But trying to act tough." "Like someone I know," Jordan said. Angela smiled faintly. "He asked if you were coming." Jordan walked into the room. Mateo was hooked up to machines but smiled the second he saw him. "You made it," he said. "Of course I did. I don't want to miss your game." Jordan sat on the edge of the bed. "I don't want to miss you getting better." Mateo nodded. "You think I'll still be able to play?" Jordan looked him in the eye. "You already are." They sat there a while, just talking. About basketball. About courage. About staying calm when everything feels like it's crashing down. When Jordan left, he handed Angela a folded note. "If he needs anything, this number reaches me directly." She took it. Said nothing. Just hugged him tightly. Game 7 came and went. The Bulls won in overtime. Jordan hit the final shot. The crowd went ballistic. Headlines exploded. But later that night, no celebration. Jordan went straight home. Checked his phone. A single text from Angela. "He's gonna be okay." He stared at it for a long time. Then put the phone down and finally let himself breathe. The finals were weeks of chaos. The Bulls clawed through each game. Exhausting. Brutal. Beautiful. They won in Game 6. Championship number 7. Jordan was offered every mic, every camera. Instead, he pointed to the crowd again, this time at Mateo, back on his feet, clapping from the front row. The camera cut to the boy just in time to see him mouth the words, "Thank you." Jordan never responded publicly. He didn't need to. That summer, word spread that he had funded a new wing at Mercy Hospital. Pediatric Recovery and Trauma. It would bear no nameplate. Just a plaque near the door. To those who fight. And those who help them. Years passed. Mateo grew up. Played high school ball. Got a scholarship. And one day, stepped onto an NBA draft stage, suit clean, eyes focused. When the reporter asked who inspired him most, he didn't hesitate. A man who stopped his whole world just to help my mom. And never once asked for thanks. The story had long been public by then. But hearing it from the boy, it saved hit differently. Backstage, Jordan watched the interview from a quiet seat. Someone asked if he was proud. He didn't answer right away. Then finally, he said, "Proud? Yeah. But not because he made it to the league." Why then? Jordan looked up at the screen. Because he remembered what mattered. The reporter smiled. "You ever tell him that?" Jordan just shrugged. He already knows.